Hi, my name's Dermot. I'm the creator of SimpleDraw, and this short video is intended to get you started using it. This is the canvas that we're going to be drawing on. By default, that's a 10 meter by 10 meter canvas. I'm going to cut that down to 3 by 2, and then I'm going to zoom in using the mouse wheel so we get started with the drawing. Let's start by looking at how we draw lines. We choose the line tool here, then we click where we want the line to start, and click again where we want the line to end. If we're not completely happy with what we've got there, then we can move that point around and we can use zoom. This is the mouse wheel to zoom in. So we've got fine control over exactly where that is. Alternatively, we can select the line and we can adjust these points manually like this, horizontally or vertically. So that gives us really fine control of exactly where the line starts and ends. I'm going to zoom out again using the mouse wheel. If we want to draw multiple lines, we can hold down the Shift key. And this gives us a sequence of lines which keeps going until we finish up at a point or at a line. Or if we want to end early, we can just hit the Escape key to finish that. The multi-line tool does exactly the same thing, just without me holding down the Shift key. If I want to draw a line that's horizontal or vertical, then I can press H, and now any line I draw will be constrained to the horizontal direction. Or if I hold V, the line will be constrained to the vertical direction. Or if I hold C, then it's constrained to either horizontal or vertical. If I want to add some text to my drawing, I can choose the text tool, and then I can place the text wherever I want. Don't worry if that doesn't say what you wanted it to say, we'll change that later. We can change the content over here to whatever I want. And I can change the font size up or down. And I can position using these controls, or I can use the move tool. Whoops, let's more text. I can use the move tool to move that to exactly the position that I want. So anything that I've added to this drawing, I can come back and modify later. So we'll do this using the select tool. I can select this line and I can change the start or end positions of the line. I can control whether or not we see the length of that line displayed. And I can also fix the direction of that line. What this does is if I try and move this point around now, you see that that line direction stays fixed. So if I select a point, I can see the lines at that point, and I can see information about the angles at that point. I can also navigate through to the line, and from the line, I can see the start and end points. I can go back to those points. And I can, again, control the direction and whether the length is displayed for this line as well. So now with both of those lines' directions fixed, we see that affects how things adjust in the drawing when I move this point. If you want to draw a rectangle, the best way is to go to the rectangle tool. You hold down the mouse where you want it to start, and then you release the mouse at the point that you want it to end. Now, a rectangle is just 4 lines at right angles connected together. We can see that. We can select away from that, and we can see the individual lines. These lines have fixed direction set automatically, so that if I take this point, then it will adjust the size of the triangle. If I were to remove that setting on the lines, then when I move that point, it would cause the shape to stop being a rectangle. Now, because this is just a series of lines, that means I can adjust this as I want. So if I select that line, I can delete that line whilst leaving the rest of the rectangle intact. The last tool I want to show is the select box tool. We can use this to select multiple elements by holding down the mouse button and dragging, and then releasing to select those elements. We can also select multiple elements using the Select tool by holding down Shift. And if I click on individual elements, then those will also be added to my selection. When I've selected multiple items, you can see on this right panel, I can navigate through the different items that are selected and do whatever I want with those. I can also take a selection and I can delete it using either the delete key or this trash can icon to just cut all of those things out. If I regret what I've deleted, I can hit Control Z or undo to get them back again. I can also copy, Control C, that's this button here, and then paste, Control V to paste a copy of those items that I selected, or Control Z to undo the move and the paste there. I want to talk a bit more about navigation around a drawing. We've already done the zoom in using the mouse wheel and zoom out again using the mouse wheel. When you're zoomed in, you can navigate around using these scroll bars. I can also zoom in or out using this slider here. And there's a zoom tool. I can either left click to zoom in or right click to zoom out. And this is useful if you don't have a mouse wheel on your mouse. So the modifiers part of the toolbar shows the various controls that we use to modify commands. So for example, we talked about Shift earlier. When I have Shift, then I can select multiple elements. And you see the Shift modifier is selected when I hold down Shift. We also looked at the vertical and horizontal modifiers, which we control using H and V or X and Y. And these are useful. We saw them for drawing lines, but they also work when we're moving an object. So if I was to make a selection of this lot, and then I want to move that around, then I can hold the V modifier and that allows me to move it vertically, or I can choose the H modifier, which will allow me to only move it horizontally. Okay, when you finish your drawing, you want to share it with someone. Maybe you want to print it. Maybe you want to send it to someone by email. We do this using the export, which will generate a PNG file, an image file based on the drawing. We can decide whether we want to include the grid or not. We can control the resolution, and then we hit export, and that'll appear in your downloads folder like this. We can also save our work at any time. You hit the save button, then again, that creates a file in your downloads folder like this. And you can load a previous drawing like this. So I hope this video has given you the information you need to get started using SimpleDraw and to use it for whatever it is that you're hoping to draw. If you have any questions or need any more help, or if you spot any bugs that you'd like us to look at, please join our Discord server. That's the best way to get in touch with us and get help with your drawing. Thank you so much for watching this video, and thank you for trying out SimpleDraw.